Hi there, good morning, happy Sunday. It's cold. It is very cold. I'm in northern Colorado and we got about 6 inches of snow and it's freezing outside. So I hope that you are able to stay warm and toasty wherever you are in the world. So I wanted to come in here today and talk to you a little bit about utility bills. I hear from people very frequently that they feel like they're bad at budgeting. And really, it's not that they're bad at budgeting, it's just sometimes they don't plan for these big fluctuations or unexpected expenses that come up every single month. So one of the things that I like to do is advocate for setting your utilities on a budget billing, or what we call a level pay. Sometimes people also call it equal pay, an equal payment plan. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. But one of the reasons why I think this is really important is because if you have a plan and you are currently trying to work your way out of debt, you've probably got a set monthly goal that you're trying to reach. In order to make progress on that debt, you want to make this much of a payment every month towards that debt. And then when you have, a month like December, January, February, where your utility bills spike and suddenly you've got a bill that was maybe even $100 more than what you expected, fine, you can cover it, but that's $100 that you aren't sending to pay off that next debt. So one of the things that I want us to look at today is billing your utilities. Tripping over my words this morning. So what can you expect from budget billing your utilities? Basically, when you think about the way your utilities run, and so I'm going to talk about like 3 today that pertain to my own situation, being electric and gas and water. So you've got your water and your electric for me, which is air conditioning and lawn sprinklers, that are really going to fluctuate a lot during the summertime. So that's when they are going high, and then the rest of the year they kind of, come down a little bit lower. You've also got gas or whatever it is that you're using to heat your own home, which is going to go lower in the summer and then it's going to spike during the winter. So when we're talking about doing a level pay plan, if we have, these fluctuations that are kind of constantly going like this with utility bills, what you're going to expect is that you're going to pay something that is slightly less than what your peak use is, but it's going to be more than what these valleys are. So we're just going to kind of like smooth out these fluctuations, and we're going to aim for a payment that's kind of level. I'd say somewhere right in the middle, but I actually do tend to estimate just a tad high to make sure that I don't have any unexpected bills during the year that I'm still having to kind of chip in and dump a little bit more. Let me stop for a second, take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Terry Slater and I am a financial coach. And what I do as a financial coach is I help people manage their everyday spending in order to reach bigger goals. And so the first goal that I usually have is I want to help people get out of debt first. I feel like you've got a lot more freedom to live the life that you want to live within your means when you don't have any debt to pay on. So we talk about that in a very pragmatic and tactical way, and it starts with doing a monthly budget. So that's why I want to talk about utility bills, because I think that they can have a really big impact on what your monthly spending looks like. All right, so again, we're going to smooth out those fluctuations and we're just going to have a level payment. So here's a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind. Number one, I want you to be in control, okay? I don't want you to call your utility company and say, hey, I want you to set me up on a budget billing plan. And here's why. I've done that and it didn't really work out so well for me. So what happened was I called my electric company and I said, I want to set up a budget billing so that they would bill me the same amount every month. Fine, that's what we're going to do anyway. That's the goal here. But what they did was they added an additional 10% on top of what they anticipated my usage to be. So, I did have an even monthly payment, and on my monthly bills, I could see how much I was paying versus how much I was using. But what happens with utility companies oftentimes is at the end of the year, they kind of settle up, right? And so they'll give you a particular statement that says, okay, at this point, you have overpaid this much amount, so we're going to refund it back. Or you've underpaid this amount, and so now you owe. And that can sometimes be a significant chunk. I've seen some people that have a really large bill once a year, because the estimate just wasn't right. And so what I want is for you to be in complete control, meaning I want you to average out your own monthly bills. And so there's timing that's involved here too. You want to start this when your monthly bills start to come back down off of that peak. Okay, so we're in winter right now, and so what's going to happen is if I wanted to start this process with my gas bill, which heats our home, I would actually want to start that probably in March, because in March my bills are now starting to come down. They're not spiked because I'm running the heat all the time. They're starting to come down. So once they come down, I'm actually going to pay more than what I normally would. But the way that you want to do this is just average out what your bills have been over the past year, and then, literally take a mathematical average and then send in that amount every single month. And what will happen from here is that you're just going to start to see on your monthly bill, you may not get a monthly bill, but if you do get a monthly bill regardless, you're going to start to see months where you have a credit balance. So for my water bill, for example, we're not watering the lawn right now, so those bills are pretty low. I'm getting monthly statements that show I have a credit balance of, $80, $100, $120. So I'm paying in the same amount even though I'm not using that much water. But I know every single month what all of my utility expenses are. They're exactly the same every single month. One thing you do have to keep in mind also is that just because you've got a certain payment set up doesn't mean that you're not going to owe extra sometimes. Okay, so I am paying extra on my electric bill every single month, but come summertime, if it is a really, really hot, long, extended summer, we have a particular, spree of a couple weeks that's, 90 plus degrees, maybe even 100 degrees, I'm probably going to have to pay a slightly higher electric bill a couple of times during that month. But even so, for me personally, it's never really been more than $25 more than what I would normally pay. Okay, so again, I want to make sure that you start this in a place where timing is everything. So you don't want to get caught. You don't want to start this essentially right before you go into a peak season. That's not going to benefit you quite as well here. Okay. Let's see here. What else? I guess I would say a bonus tip for you is that if you are interested in looking at, okay, yeah, this is great, but how can I reduce my utility bills overall? There's a lot of tips for that. Honestly, I would say go to Pinterest and just type in lower utility bills, and you're going to find a ton of different tips on how to save water, how to cut your electric bill, how to cut your gas bill, all these different things. So there's a lot of searches. I typically do like Pinterest for that type of thing. You can find a lot of really great ideas. So I would say head on over to Pinterest if you want to check out some other tips on how to just save on your utilities regardless. And then also another kind of bonus I like to say is do this annually. So I do like to revisit this process annually. I'm a little bit of a numbers nerd, so that's maybe why I do that. But what I do is I go through once a year, typically at the end of the year, just because work is a little bit slower at the end of the year. I'll go through and I'll look at the past 12 months, and I actually pull up the 12 statements from my utility company, and I look at what my usage and what my billing was, not how much I paid every month, but what they billed me every month. And the reason that I do like to do this once a year is because I want to get back in there and make sure that my average still looks good for the next year. Because if I need to tweak it, even $5 a month, that's $60 a year. So if I need to tweak it at all to make sure that I kind of stay ahead of it and stay on top of it, I want to do that. Also, sometimes our utilities have rate hikes, right? So your water bill may go up, not because your usage changed, but it's just because the water company is now charging you more every month. So I like to try to stay ahead of that too. So that's why I do recommend doing this once a year. Again, I'm a budget nerd, so I really like to do that kind of thing. So anyway, that is the tip that I have for you today. Keeping your utility bills consistent can really help you plan your spending better, get ahead on the goals that you're trying to reach, and get you on a path so that you've got financial freedom and success. All right, everybody, I want you to have a really great rest of your weekend. If you have any questions or comments, please do type them in below. Is this something that you're already doing? If you are, I would love to hear about that. I love to hear when other people are doing great things too. All right, take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.